And we take this that we copied and we go over into, so we've got the dashboard, which is the chain running. As you can see, we're running 4 shards. We have 16 nodes. So there's 4 nodes on each shard. We are doing blocks in parallel on each shard. We are doing transactions in parallel on each shard. Our account negotiation algorithm is working exactly as it should. There's not a lot of transactions, not a lot of accounts. What the account negotiation algorithm does is actually finds the accounts that are necessary for that transaction to run and moves the accounts over to the shard that the transactions are on. So at some point, it actually goes on to one because there's just not that many accounts and such like that. Okay, so let's go into here. Now we copied that code over, and I'm going to go ahead and just put it into here. The first thing we have to do, though, is we need to have an account. So we're creating what would be considered, say, the ISO 20022 account. Or the ISO account, and then 20022 is one of the trees under their account. So we just hit new account, and that is now submitted, and we shall wait, and it can take anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds. We are doing a 15-second POW at this time. At that rate, that would give us 4 blocks per minute. And that means that we would have 66 transactions per second. Now remember, transactions are in parallel, blocks are in parallel. Right now there's 4 shards, so that would be 4 times 66. In order to do 16,000 transactions per second, it's something like 253 shards. So our TPS increases with each new shard that's added. And we also, if resources are can be taken away depending on the transaction queue. And if they're taken away, it's because we don't need all of those resources out there at that time in order to make sure that every single transaction is done within the 30 seconds or whatever that POW time is. So let's go back into here. We do now have a new account. So we're going to open that up. We're going to grab the account number and we're going to put that into this variable field. I'm going to go ahead and put this to 113, although I've noticed that this does create a new. So this is now taking this code, filling in all the variables that are in here, and we will submit this transaction. So the transaction is now submitted. What this is doing, because the classes are already loaded, the ISO 20022 class tree is already loaded in there. This account is an account now that wants to use the ISO 20022 standards in order to make any type of transaction that fall under there. So what it's doing is it's making an instance of the classes that are in the ISO 20022 class tree into their account, which you can now utilize those objects and iterate across any other account, whether it be a transfer of a payment transfer, it be a securities transfer, a trade, whatever classes are within the ISO 20022 tree are now available for everyone to utilize. So we now have an instance of these classes in this account. And when I say you can utilize this, it's a single global instance. Instead of having to go and copy and paste a new ERC20 and putting it up there, what you do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do one more run, create a new account because I want a new account now. This is going to be a different company that also wants to use ISO 20022 compliant transactions. So we shall now wait for this to build. And by the way, I can go in here and I can look at exactly what block this was in. Here's the script that was run. these are the results on here. How many classes were built, how many instances out of those. There's total classes of 35, instances are 32, active instances are 7, and total links are 7. And I can go into the block hash. I can see the block. I can see which shard it was created on, what the leader account for that shard was. And I can go and see all of the different transactions that were in that account. And I can go into each transaction and look at exactly what that is. Actually, what we're doing here is this is somebody who was looking for indices. They were looking for the coin price, which is actually another implementation that we've done. We have Saga feeds, and we will have open verifiable source of any public data that anybody can go in and look for, do a listener on, search as objects. We're actually at the point where we're now reaching out to all of the different organizations, say, hey, put a tree or put an account on here, take a custodian of this tree and this code, and keep it up there and verified. So we now have a new account, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy the new account number. I'm going to close this, and I'm going to go now and say, I want this 20,022 class tree now available within here in this new account. So then I have 2 accounts that have the class tree. And I will go ahead and click submit. And we now have submitted the transaction. It is running. Go over here and just look here again, and you can see the blockchain is producing transactions and blocks. Go back to the client UI. And we now have successfully implemented ISO 20022 class objects into 2 accounts. So the ISO 20022 account was set up. There are class trees there, and now you can just go in and choose out of here. You would just make, okay, which classes do you actually want in your account? You don't need the entire all objects of the tree because they're just sitting there waiting for you to have any. So that's the demonstration. The next, on a follow-up video, we will show you how to actually do the transactions between accounts. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for paying attention. We look forward to everybody asking questions, implementing, joining Saga standards, taking custodianship of these trees, and let's now learn to think different, build different, and live different.